The podcast that you're about to listen to does not care about your emotions, your hypersensitivity, or your political correctness. If you wish to continue, then
shut up and sit down.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in. You're listening to the Alpha 5 podcast. I'm Frank, a.k.a. PJ, here with John, Jonah, and Ray. Fellas, what's going on? What's up? What's up?
Yeah.
Chilling, man. Feeling good.
Yo, PJ,
Mic
happy
check,
belated
1
birthday,
2 1
bro.
2.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Word.
Thank
Happy
you.
birthday. Shouts out.
Another year. I mean, it's funny how as you get older, like, there's so much less celebrated. Like, it becomes a milestone thing, right? Like, 30, all right, cool. Then I think it goes like every 5 years after that. So, like, 35, I'll probably do like something bigger, right?
Yeah.
Like 10 years.
Probably,
and
I don't know.
Shit.
Honestly, it all doesn't mean shit once you hit, like, once other people stop giving a fuck, your parents and shit like that, like, it don't matter no more.
Well,
You get little things,
but that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like at 40, right, it'll be like 35, 40, and then after that, it'll be 50, then 75, when like the give a shits mat come into play after that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
it's your silver, what is that, a silver birthday or some shit like that? Or is that just pertaining to marriage?
I have
don't
no
know.
idea,
Fucking
man.
I don't even know
I
what
have
you're
no
talking about, bro. Silver birthdays and shit?
IDGAF.
You don't know what that is? Like the silver anniversary, gold anniversary? You don't know what that
No.
is?
Nah, nigga, I'm from the hood. We ain't do that shit.
I don't
What?
think that means that you should know what that is. I'm not sure the correlation there, buddy.
Oh, man.
But I'll let you have that.
So, have y'all seen what popped off in the news like 2 days ago with
lot of
the well, more specifically with the judge who was assigned to what's her
What's her name?
face's
Judge
trial?
Salas?
Something
Well, she
along
was
those
assigned
lines.
to Epstein trial, not just Lane Maxwell.
Yeah, I think Judge Salas, Esther Salas. She's
Wait,
a Jersey district attorney, right? Or Jersey federal judge? Yeah.
So she was assigned to the Epstein trial, even though he's dead. What?
It was a while ago, but I guess she had information or knew things or whatever.
She knew. What?
She was involved with the Epstein trial, not just Lane Maxwell.
Oh, I thought she was like just assigned to it to something recently. But
Nah, but she probably had info because her husband was hurt too, and you know what I'm saying?
Well, for those who don't know, her son was killed.
20-year-old Daniel Andrew.
And her husband was like very seriously injured. Were they together? Does anybody know were they together?
Husband was a defense lawyer. Mark Andrew. They were shot by a disguised FedEx driver.
It's like on some mafia shit.
A FedEx driver, like, come on, bro, that was definitely a hit, bro. Like that wasn't a botched robbery.
But I mean, just last episode, we were talking about how the lengths that people go to hide this underground society, for lack of a way of describing it, and shit.
What takes place when you try to catch predators?
Yeah, it's wild, man. It's scary. It's absolutely terrifying. How people will go to those lengths to protect their secret, like as you creep close, or if you know a little.
Chris Hansen?
If you know a little something. Fuck is Chris Hansen?
Yeah.
You never saw the To Catch a Predator, the show? The guy that's always waiting in the living room.
Oh yeah.
I'm Chris Hansen with NBC. Were you here to meet a 14-year-old boy? No, I was just here. I was just delivering some cookies. You never seen this shit?
Yo, that's that dude that pops out of like left field when one of the like predators comes into to the child's like kitchen and shit.
Yeah, that's the Catch a Predator dude.
Yo.
I've never seen the show. I've seen like the fucking
it's disturbing
commercials
bro.
for it. That's why I've never seen it. Nope.
It's mad funny. But it's funny because it's not funny because you know these niggas is nasty, but it's funny when they get caught because the look of shock, as if you're a nasty person. Like you didn't think that this shit was going. You didn't think anything was wrong with this situation where this little kid is at home and you get to just walk in and like they don't got parents. Like you don't think about none of this shit, bro. And it's always some loser. Oh man, it was the real sad episode with some like loser kid. Like he was like, I'm suicidal. Like all the time. I really feel bad for him, but you gotta lock his ass up too.
Dang, man, that's crazy though that something like that happens, man, when it's related to this, and this lady's got connections to that Epstein and that whole pedophile ring case.
She said she's afraid that she's gonna be murdered, so they keep moving her to different cells.
She might actually get murdered, bro. This is smart for them to keep moving her from cell to cell.
It's not called murder. It's called being suicided.
Oh well,
Come on, man.
I mean, you know what I mean.
Do you think that FedEx driver would get caught?
I think they got the suspect. They're calling him a suspect.
I think they got somebody.
FBI later identified their main suspect as Roy Den Hollander, a self-described anti-feminist lawyer.
Why is it that everybody that
anti-feminist and he killed the son and the husband?
And according to Associated Press, he was found dead in the Catskills on New York. Was it planted? Was it done on purpose?
Wow.
Things that make you go,
The suspected killer was found dead?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Nah, nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. The authorities have way too much power, bro. Way too much power. They're just...
You think it's the authorities, man? Or you think it's just, well, I don't know, man.
It ain't us.
Maybe.
We ain't got the juice.
Yeah,
maybe it's not even the authorities. Maybe it's people with money.
That's the authorities.
Trump is president because he's rich.
Though. Well, I mean, not for
not
nothing.
Necessarily because he's rich.
That has a lot to do with it.
Not for nothing.
Everybody knows him.
I think it's more because of the people he was able to influence with his money.
And rich.
It can be argued that the police are people with money. No,
I mean why? Some police, but police are the ones with power. Police are on a surface level. Whatever bullshit the upper echelon of people decide that they want to do to us, it is the law enforcement in this country that carry it out among the people. So, you see a whole bunch of unconstitutional shit going on in Portland right now. And they're fine with it.
I'm not following
that's my whole thing though, right? If money is power, essentially, right? That's how that goes.
Money, power,
the police are some of the most well-funded organizations in the country.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's why they have a certain level of power, right?
You're right about that.
I mean, what's going on tremendously now, right? A big outcry because of the stuff like you're talking about going on in Portland is defunding the police. That's been a bigger uprising as of late, especially, with all of the murders that have been going on at their hands.
Right. And just to fill you in real quick, Jonah, what's going on in Portland is there are a bunch of police officers, they're saying, but they're also saying they're federal agents out there too, dressed up in camouflage, snatching people up like Gestapo. They're pretty much the Gestapo. They're putting people in unmarked cars and driving them off protesters. So if you was out here, and there's video out there that's not like a conspiracy, you see this shit. So like the amount of money that I feel like these departments have, like they're super well funded. Like you can tell our military is really well funded, and that kind of reflects in the way we fund our police too. We really give a fuck about our weapons in this country. And we never really thought about, it was always about keeping us safe from foreign powers, right? But it was never about, well, what if those weapons that we're funding is turned on us? And that's what's happening, right?
Whoa, wait. People getting snatched up for having weapons?
No, people just getting snatched up, period. But the police are using these tax-funded vehicles, weapons and stuff to harm the taxpayers. This is what I'm saying. The excuse why we fund our military is to keep our country safe abroad, right? If we stop people abroad, we won't have things come domestically, right? And we also give that same kind of attitude towards our police, right? but we never sat there and thought about, well, what for a second, we live domestically, and if the police want to be warriors and soldiers, right? Who's going to be the targets? It's going to have to be the citizens,
right?
So we fund. We're okay with funding these police departments, giving them tanks, giving them rubber bullets, giving them fucking grenade launchers, and all this other types of crazy shit, right? They want to be like, a lot of them want to be soldiers so bad they want to use the equipment. Who are they using it on? Like they have. Why do they have so much?
Like, have you guys heard of Naked Athena?
Nah.
No.
Naked
What's
Athena?
Naked Athena?
She sounds hot though.
Naked Athena was a protester who literally went in front of police in Portland, butt ass naked. The only thing she had on was a face mask and a beanie.
She sat spread eagle.
She said spread eagle in front of, like, that was her form of protest, because it's apparently in Portland, like, you can do that. You can do that as a form of protest, be butt ass naked. But to what John was saying, apparently they shot pepper balls at her.
Googling Naked Athena.
It is actually a video of a guy in front of her shielding her, like trying to shield her and stuff.
Right. So, but like, this woman is butt ass naked, got like spread eagle in front of you. What reason do you possibly have to shoot pepper balls at her?
None.
Right.
The abuse of power.
That's what John's saying. Like, we've weaponized our police, and those weapons are being turned on us in a way that it shouldn't, right? So people are screaming, defund the police. And for clarity, defunding the police, in the terms that we're speaking about, means reallocating or redirecting the funding away from police departments to other government agencies that are funded by, like, local municipalities, like schools, for example, right? It's not saying, oh, just pull the money away, period. It's a reallocation, so people don't get their fucking panties in a bunch.
Well, I just don't understand why they need so much funding. Like, I don't have the numbers on it, but New York City, NYPD, $6 billion with a B, their budget. I think that's annually. Pretty sure that's annually, right? What does that money go to? Like, when they use the $6 billion, and then you see them out here doing it, they do, for a while, it was a lot of stop and frisk shit going on. It was a lot of wild shit going on, right?
Naked Athena has a bush.
I didn't see it. That's funny. What is $6 billion?
Sorry,
what is? No, it's funny. I didn't see the front part of her. I didn't want to go that far.
Ray went on a really quick, hard Google search.
No, it was actually thanks to Reddit. Thank you, Reddit.
Reddit is
public freak out.
Oh, shit, that's funny.
But what is the $6 billion for? I don't know if cops really solve a lot of crimes. I don't know if they do that. I don't know if they might prevent crimes, as far as, well, if they stand on the corner, you probably not going to commit a crime right there, which is, understandable. But for the amount that you're paying and the job that they're doing, I don't think that they do too great. I really don't. And all of this money, right? Their unions fight for this shit, and so you get them in a position where they can have mayors by the balls, and they get to tell mayors what to do instead of the other way around. I'm a firm believer that police are civil servants, like the post office.
Wow.
The job is different, totally different job, but your job is not out here to be my fucking principal, my nigga. You out here supposed to be making sure everything is safe and writing tickets and making sure grannies can fucking cross the street and shit like that. You're not supposed to be out here terrorizing people. And the more money that they have to live out their fucking fantasies, the more we are going to pay for it. I want our tax dollars to go to something that's more worth it than having these armies of police, when clearly we are not more threatening than any other citizen of a country. We have all of these guns in this country, and there's not a fucking uprising against all these police where there's mass murders of police and people's going on. So you don't see that shit, right? Why? We're American and we love guns, but we're not trying to kill our police because it's not really what it's about. But they are trying to show their authority, right? And that starts at the top. those officers that are in Portland right now are, a lot of them are federal officers. The mayor said, we don't want them here, and they won't leave.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yo, it's crazy you say that, man, because like I'm a supporter of the Second Amendment, but I also see what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? Like as a supporter of the Second Amendment and, wanting the rights to bear arms, in situations like these where like cops are actually overusing their authority, then no, I don't need no, totalitarian kind of state. And I'm going to use my guns because you know what? No, I'm pro the people, and you are essentially being paid by me to protect me. And right now you are not protecting me.
The crazy thing is they're not even shooting at the cops. That shit is not going on. They're peacefully, a lot of them is peacefully protesters. They might be throwing rocks and shit, but these niggas look like Iron Man. Like these rocks is not really bothering you for what they're doing. They're out here committing Geneva Convention violations. You understand? These are war crimes. I seen a photo yesterday, or was it today, of them pepper spraying a medical tent. Right? Ray, are you supposed to be doing stuff like that to like when if there's you're not supposed to commit crimes against medics during war, right? Or during any kind of like, so that includes not pepper spraying the equipment that they need to take care of the people that are wounded and hurt, right? But this is what
they even sabotaging water,
right? This is what they're doing. But you are a protector of a citizen. These are still citizens, right? They're only out here doing what you're agitating them, right? The cops are agitators. If it was this real all-out war that Fox News is telling everybody that it is, wouldn't you be seeing more cop deaths? Wouldn't you be seeing more civilian deaths? Nah, they're not doing any of that. They snatching niggas up and taking them to who knows where. Somebody videoed one of the federal officers snatching somebody up, and the officer said to the person, "If you follow me, I will shoot at you. Do not follow us." That's got to be illegal. That's got to be illegal, right? But we allow. So I'm starting to believe in the deep state a little bit, but the deep state that I believe in is not. It's not Trump, and it's not Obama. It's not Biden, right? It's the CIA, the FBI, and all the alphabet boys. Those people in those establishments have been there.
The boys.
The CIA, FBI, okay. yeah. They've
NSA, TSA.
Dude, think about it. No matter the administration, no matter who comes in and out, who's there, right? It's always them. They started a shadow war in Africa, right? There's more military units in Africa than there is in the Middle East, right? Because China's moving into Africa, buying up real estate.
Yeah,
working out a deal with the Africans, and America's like, nope. So, and it makes them, it's easier to bomb certain places in the world if you set up shop in Africa. Shit is crazy. And that's all. It didn't go through Congress. Nobody, no, they just sent them there. Like nobody, it was no checks or balances.
I mean, that's unfortunate.
And it's all about money.
All over the place. But out of curiosity, who thinks that we should defund the police? I feel like John does. Okay, John does. Jonah,
I need to know what it means to defund the police. Like, yeah, I need to know what it means to defund the police.
Reallocating or redirecting funding away from the police department to other government agencies funded by local municipalities.
Does that mean that
that's according to Brookings.edu.
Okay. So are they completely like the police will not receive any type of funding?
No, it would just it would reduce their funding and reallocate it. So like school programs, other state programs or local.
It doesn't
programs.
reduce salary. Right?
I have a question. Is any of our defense budget going to the police? That's what I wonder.
I don't think it does, and I think it should.
I was just looking this up actually, and I literally Googled a very simple question: how much do local governments spend on the police, right?
What if
And
what if the police were like local militias
I mean
where
they kind of are.
right, but they're not. Like they kind of are, but they're not that, because I don't know, like
I guess
if
my
that's the
question would
case,
be
then
how are they not that?
one, because of what Winston just said, they're not funded by the Defense Department, the Department of Defense. They're not, like, money is not going into defending the nation. You
But
know,
wouldn't
State funded mostly, I would assume.
No, they're not. That's what I was gonna get to. Most police departments are locally funded.
Mm.
So in 2017, state and local governments spent 115 billion dollars on police. This is across the United States.
But then I don't want to get into that, like, into the situation where it's like, oh, we're taking the defense budget and we're funding the police that's going to go into martial law. What kind of person are you? You know what I'm saying?
But people are crying about what gets spent on the police, which I can partially understand. But according to this article, it's only 4% of state and local expenditure.
4% of local, state, and local expenditure. Wow.
Is actually spent on the police. 3% is spent on corrections.
Well, let's keep it.
Damn,
but
so
I don't think
only 1% is getting spent on, like.
No, it's it's considered two separate things. So you're talking about a total of 7%.
Got it.
That's actually spent on police and corrections.
Right, and of that, however much the percentage of the total budget is the police, whatever their budget is still 100% of their budget. And what they use the money on is not things that police should be using money on. They shouldn't be buying tanks. And I guess this is
97% in 2017. 97% went to operational costs such as salaries and benefits.
Oh, their pensions,
salaries and benefits. Either way, that's you still have 3% that's spent on everything else.
Local government's cool. You want to look at big city governments, because local governments and small towns in America is not really the problem where you see over policing in communities of color. You see them in Detroit, you see it in New York, you see it in Atlanta, you see it in LA, you see it in Chicago. You're seeing it in those places, and find out what the police budget is for those places. And when those places, because that's really the correct, is police brutality. This is what all this is about, right? And them having too much money and power. In those places, right, in communities of color, I want to see how that money is spent, right, and what they're spending on, how much the county makes or the state makes from having inmates in that jail, because all of that shit matters, right? When you incentivize police with money, when you incentivize, like, to lock people up, right, it's the same thing that goes with quotas. If you threaten their jobs, yeah, they're gonna have more speeding tickets. You're gonna get pulled over for going fucking 66 and a 65 because that cop has a quota. You understand? Everything is money incentivized. This is where once you start defunding everything, you start clearing out the bullshit and going to what you really need. Like, cops shouldn't be getting cats out of the tree. I know that's not like a real thing that happens.
That's fire department, isn't it?
I mean, I've seen both. You know what I mean? Like the myth of it.
Yeah, I agree that we shouldn't be spending our money on that. Like, on those kind of calls. They should be there
for emergencies. Like, police are for emergencies, just like the ambulances are. It's like fire trucks are, but we have social workers. We have this, we have that. Like, there are other avenues or outlets that you can reinvest in the infrastructure in this country and just take a little bit of money, right? And see a change.
Yo, let me ask you a question, man.
What?
In a world where shrinks and therapists and things like that are, I don't want to say demonized, but looked as like something you don't go to. How right?
I feel like that's a little outdated, but continue.
How in the urban community, how will social workers work when we don't really want to talk about our problems anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, but you saying that, I mean, do you, you know why we don't talk about our problems, especially with the law? That's why everybody knows in the especially the black community, you don't call police. Like, I don't give what you have. It has to be a very extreme situation for you to call police or somebody else. That just in the same way you're not gonna call a social worker, because you know what happens when those people enter your lives, right? Your family is usually ripped apart, and there's almost no chance of that shit getting back together.
Right.
So that's why I'm not gonna tell you that I have a mental disorder. I'm not gonna tell you that I'm crazy. I'm not gonna tell you something wrong, because when I do, you're not gonna treat me like you treat this other family in this neighborhood over here that's upstate.
Right.
You're gonna treat me like everybody got to go clean house and break up this family. And that's why you're not going to find people of color in our community to talk about shit like that, because it's dangerous to our existence to do it.
So then how do we rebuild an infrastructure, you know, because I'm only asking this because I've heard of, you know, one of the ways that we should defund the police is by funding more social workers and ways to help the community work, deal with their mental issues. Right?
Eliminate the fear. Once you start eliminating the fear, it's the same thing with the police.
So so how do we do that?
I mean, you kind of have to ask the people. It's not, of course, all the onus is not on the people in authority, but most of the onus is on the people in authority to make sure that they don't have to. We have nothing to fear. I
got some answers for you. So the NYPD's total budget is $10.9 billion. NYPD. 5.6 billion of which covers just their operating budget. The other 5.2 and change covers their central expenses, which is like pensions, fringe benefits, and debt and shit like that. Of that money, 92% of it is city funded, 6% is federally funded, and 2% is state funded. Less than 1% actually comes from any kind of grants or anything like that. Majority of their operating budget is spent on street patrol. So
the more cops you have, the more crime you're gonna find.
Yeah,
it's
27% is spent on patrol.
I'm curious to what the education budget is for New York City.
I can tell you that too. Actually, it's on the same form. Department of Education is $24 billion.
Okay.
That $24 billion operating expense. So NYPD's is 5.6. Department of Education's 24 for this is operating expenses, and DSS actually is second with 10.2 billion. So like New York City puts a lot of money out there. Like,
but New York City is the most populated city in the States, isn't it?
I believe
country,
so.
Yeah, in the U.S. Yeah.
Yo,
and probably the world too, right?
Don't see that shit nowhere.
I think again, it comes to, I don't mind having police make their money. You get paid more. You get pensions and all of the other shit. When you're, again, incentivized to over police certain areas and you're not really qualified to deal with people, like, I watched it again. I hate seeing these videos, but I watched of course a black dude at Walmart at the register buying a bike for his son. He paid cash and credit together. Somebody called the cops on him. The cops came and arrested him. And he asked for 20 minutes, like, why are you arresting me? I have the receipt in my pocket. I just bought the bike. And they arrested him anyway. Tied his legs up, threw him in the back of the car. Broad daylight. And he's just asking, like, why are you doing this?
A single person said, hey, chill. Like, he really paid for it.
Yeah, no, there was people filming, because that's, we know what world it was plenty of people filming this at the same time.
No, but I mean, filming.
No, he saying like, nobody stopped them to be like, no, he bought this.
Like, hey.
I can't listen. The only reason police get respect is the guns. Like, can we just be honest? right? If you don't have a gun,
I that's not why they get respect from me. That's why I might be afraid of in certain situations, but that's not why I give them respect. I respect the job.
I respect your job, my nigga, but I ain't about to acquiesce to you either, my nigga. You got a tough job, bro. That shit is hard as fuck. Coal miners, hard as fuck. Why do we? I just don't understand. Yeah, I know, because that's the norm.
It's different to me.
It's the social norm. It's what we've been.
No, it's not. It's not. Absolutely not. Come on now.
So I don't know. Like, I don't know if the defunding the police is completely necessary. Maybe as far as Winston was talking about not giving them tanks, I guess that does come with defunding, because isn't that what the military's for?
Do cops really got tanks, man?
They have they have military style vehicles.
Absolutely.
They do
have you?
Style.
Well, if you got like a fucking,
but what about SWAT and stuff
Jeep
like
style,
that?
like that's what I'm saying, like a SWAT.
Those
truck
are
or something like that. Like,
right.
I get that, but not a fucking tank.
Keep SWAT just like you have Navy SEALs, just like you have Green Berets, right? They're special task force. Those are teams, right? These cops, there ain't that many SWAT teams. There ain't that many special task force motherfuckers out there where you got lines of them versus lines of protesters, and all of them niggas look like Iron Man, and they all have this equipment, and these dudes out here.
I thought that's what the purpose of having the 3-letter and like FBI, CIA, all these the marshals. I thought that's what the purpose of them was, to these specialized units to assist the cops, to assist the police.
I think when it escalates, but it's rare that those situations happen. And when those situations do happen, the feds come take over anyway. We've all seen it in the movies. The feds come in and take over the local cop shit, and the local cops is pissed off now. That's real. They want to. Why do cops have army fatigue, like Desert Storm colored army fatigue? These are cities. Why do you need fatigue?
Can I read something to you guys real quick?
Go for it, bro.
It's fucking wild to me. So speaks to what Jonah was asking about. Do police departments really have tanks? So Keene, New Hampshire has a population of 23,409, except during the months of July and August when campers flock in for the summer. Keene's violent crime index is 134.4 compared to a national average of 213.6, and the most common crime is theft. But good thing the Federal Department of Homeland Security gave Keene money to buy a Bearcat, which is an armored counterattack vehicle. And what is Keene using its Bearcat for? That's a good question. But what's known is that a Keene City Council member has admitted that the city lied to DHS about its need for terrorism prevention tools to explain why the police included the word terrorism on their application for federal funding for the Bearcat purchase. A city council member said, our application talked about the danger of domestic terrorism, but that's just something you put in the grant application to get the money. He continued, what red-blooded American cop isn't going to be excited about getting a toy like this? That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, they're usually used as a show of force. This looks like vehicles that we use in Afghanistan called MRAPs. Mine-resistant armored protected vehicles.
A Bearcat, it's called.
So why would we need to have those in America?
It's fucking crazy.
Even our domestic terrorism isn't the level of Middle Eastern terrorism. They be mass shootings, and it's terrible, and it's all bad. But I don't think nobody here has hit the level of ISIS. Not that it's not possible.
Like some military shit.
But I don't think that we need tanks for the people.
There's a sheriff department in Bastrop County. Let me see where Bastrop County is. Texas, that has an MRAP.
They have an MRAP. Complete sense.
Jesus Christ.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Why? If you guys can look at what an MRAP.
No, I'm just saying it doesn't surprise me. And what? MRAP?
MRAP. MRAP.
MRAP.
MRAP. Mine-resistant armored protective vehicle.
For me, it makes complete sense that you would find that shit in Texas.
Dude, what the hell? Yo, and I see a picture of one, and it says sheriff on the side.
Yeah, that's the one.
Holy shit, bro.
Oh shit.
Who is
We
that
use those-
for? Who here
We
got
use those
rocket
in
launchers?
Afghanistan.
No, it's for mines, bro. Get it right.
Oh, yeah,
But
because
there are nets that protect them from RPGs though.
bruh.
I can't.
So can
Hey-
someone, I don't, this is not a political thing. I just need any American to explain to me whether you are for police or against police, which I am not against police, by the way. There's some, they do a good job, but they don't have to do all of this extra shit. But why do we need that? For whom do we need it for?
You know,
Domestic
My-
Yo,
terrorism.
maybe another reason is was excessive production, and they had nowhere else to go. That the military already had enough. I don't know.
Destroy
There's
them. Part them out.
here's my whole thing, right? This really isn't a great argument. I'll admit it up front. But the only other reason that I can think of a local police department, and more for like bigger cities, quite honestly, only reason I can see them needing it is when you have a dense population of people who don't know how to act right.
Mm.
And I say that because in my opinion, people individually can be really smart. They can be held together and all that. But when you get a swarm of people, it's usually doesn't go well, right? Now, the shit that's happening in Portland is completely they're the opposite of what I'm talking about, right? But when you look at a lot of the stuff that was preceding that, in terms of the rioting, right? There's different levels to everything, right? And we rely on our police departments to help gain control back, right?
Mhm.
A tank.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that.
MRAPs.
But understand though, the tank doesn't have to be armed with
They're also show of force.
with lethal. Right? It's a threat. Get your shit together. Stop.
Yeah,
right?
we're gonna. I love
can
police
escalate.
after that threat.
No,
I love to be
but
threatened.
But
You
all right,
got me in control now.
But that unfortunately is
Not working.
it's the role that a cop takes though. They have to be that bad guy.
Check this
the
out.
same way
No,
a
they
parent.
don't have. They don't have. They have
That's
to be
the job
back,
we give them.
They have to.
Because you're not going to go out and yell at somebody to
No.
stop doing something.
That's the climate that we've created here. It doesn't have. Listen,
I don't know.
I
I don't
let
see
me
nobody
I'm gonna
running.
give-
I don't see
I'm
enough
gonna give
people
you-
running out
I'm
to
gonna-
stop
I'm gonna
certain
give you-
shit.
let me listen. There were protesters like the first day in Portland doing their protesting thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cops came and pretty much beat the shit out of those people. The
And they were
very
wrong.
next day,
Right.
right?
Wrong for that.
Do you think more people or less people came the next day?
More.
It was 500 and went to 5,000. This is my point. So your show of force antagonized. So when you say it's the job we give them, nobody asked you to come out here and do these things that you're doing to people.
But
to
it's
keep
also
law and order.
It was also the improper use of force that was that antagonization. Is that's I said that
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
So that was the improper use. But it gets to a point where who else is going to get it? If it's not the police, who else is gonna reclaim
the streets?
Reclaim order? Who? Because the average person isn't doing it. The average person isn't going to go run into a building during a fire. The average person.
That's not what's happening here. The only thing that's happening is you don't want citizens protesting against you, and so you're hurting them.
This is
all across the country for months.
This is one. I understand. This is one side of that. But what the police do is more than just this. Their responsibilities are more than just this. This is one aspect that's being forced into the limelight.
If it's more than this,
in a general sense, they need to hold order, right? On the everyday streets, not just on the protest side of stuff. They need to hold that shit down because you know what? Who's chasing after the drunk driver going up the wrong side on the highway? The average person's not doing that, but you know what? That state trooper is.
I'm not disputing that, but this has nothing to do with that. This has
It does because when you talk about when you talk about defunding the police, though, you're not just defunding them to stop the protests. You're defunding them as a whole. You're defunding everything, and you're taking the money away from all of their abilities.
So somehow giving them less military equipment and less guns and more training is going to affect their ability to stop a drunk driver. One has nothing to do with the other, bro.
I know you're saying not like giving them these kind of vehicles and whatnot. The thing is, I found this website. It's like defenseupdate.com, and it's from back in 2014. So we can just imagine that this thing continues to happen. The excessive production that I had mentioned, they're not buying these MRAPs at insane amounts. I found on this website that they buy it for like $2,000 because there's an excess amount of MRAPs. But they're not going to sell them to just anybody, you know? So they're going to sell them to people or to organizations that are supposed to uphold the law, and they're going to use this to show of force, you know?
Police and private security.
See,
so...
You know, my whole thing
that an excess production of MRAPs, of these kind of vehicles, of these kind of weapons, of these kind of, you know, tools.
Too much money.
That have been produced.
You're talking about $2,000, bro.
So $13,000 they were looking to scrap. $13,000 of these things that had cost maybe millions to create. I think it was over $25 billion.
So it seems like we need to defund our military.
Between the companies of Navistar, Oshkosh, and BAE. That hadn't been used.
Oshkosh? Don't they make kids' clothes?
No, I think it's a different company. So like 6,500 trucks were being used in Afghanistan, but like the bulk returned stateside. And about 6,000 of those trucks were older models from Iraq, and then about 1,600 are still in Kuwait. That was back in 2014. So probably even more now. And they had to do something with it.
Defund the military, and your ability to defund the police increases.
I would say cut,
or don't even defund. Just stop selling them shit. Stop selling them the shit.
And
let them keep the money.
I think it comes down to why why I think who was the candidate that the female candidate from Hawaii? No, from Hawaii.
Oh, Tulsi Gabbard.
Yes, Tulsi Gabbard. She had mentioned it too.
I have a small crush on her.
I feel like it's not so much defunding them that should happen. It should be more like properly allocate the funding. Right? I don't think you take it away, but you make sure that it's being allocated to proper training, right? To educational tools, to community involvement. You know what I mean?
It comes down to
building those relationships, not militarizing them.
I think we should start raising the requirements of being a police officer too.
Reallocating the money. I believe that too. I think it's like reevaluating what we're doing as a nation, reevaluating our position, like being more neutral, being more of a guardian as opposed to instigating. Not that we're, and finally finishing this stuff in Afghanistan, Iraq, and the Middle East, and
the endless wars,
and focusing on the United States, man.
On us, man, like China's been doing. China's been doing them for mad long, and they're slowly becoming some fucking monster that we're not going to be able to deal with because we have all of this dumb shit going on.
And with that, we got we can focus on creating more jobs in the United States and focus on buying American-made stuff.
Bro, I mean, I'm not.
If we really want to make China, I feel like be a threat to China economically. I think that's what we need to do and stop buying
American,
Chinese
bro.
products.
Buy American, and I'm down with.
And stop supporting these companies that are freaking what's the outsourcing and using these Muslim slaves and that whole stuff in China. You know.
Yeah. Listen, if you call DirecTV and it's
Apple,
if you call DirecTV and it's not a Jamal or Amy or a Brad, then no, hang up. I'm sorry, it might sound a little fucked up or racist, but bruh, I just want jobs to be here. Like I want these American jobs to be here.
Well, not just that, but like I recently went car shopping and whatnot, right? Like when you think of certain brands, right? Hondas, Toyotas, and even your fucking GMCs and all that shit, right? Like it automatically resonates with the location, with a world location, right?
Mm-hmm.
Honda, Toyota, you're saying Japan,
right?
right? You hear BMW or Audi, you're thinking Germany,
Germany.
right?
Mm-hmm.
GMC, Chevy, you're thinking here,
United
right?
States, right?
Right. But if you actually look at the factory stickers on them, like
Mexico.
Mexico, Canada, it's fucking wherever else for
The
all
thing
of
is,
these brands.
because they want to save money.
Right, but
Which is amazing because they get amazing tax breaks here, and they still trying to.
Well, because
that goes back to the greed.
Because it's cheaper. Like to be considered American made, I believe it's only like 55% of it has to be actually assembled in
the United
America.
States.
It's not that those like the pieces were right. It's that the assembly was. So you could have the engine put together in, I believe in like Mexico, another piece put together here, and then you just bring it together. I believe that's what it qualifies for, made in status.
Y'all want to hear kind of like a crazy paradox? It's like,
what's that?
The only way that we are able to keep a lot of these factories open in America is by hiring immigrants, because they are the cheapest labor, and these companies don't want to pay Americans American wages. But we waste so much time trying to make sure that immigrants don't come in here to do the jobs that we need them to do to help the economy, because nobody else is doing it. It's like a fucked up, like, we understand, and like, you drink orange juice and it's nobody white or black out there that went and got that fucking orange. Like, we all understand that, right? Like, this not happening, right? These are immigrants that come out here and do these fucking jobs. When you go to a hotel and your bed is folded, most likely that's an immigrant, that's somebody's doing that job. And we complain, and they do so much for the economy, and they're necessary. But they wouldn't be necessary if you were willing to pay American workers good wages for the jobs, but they don't, right? And so that's why these companies, it's easy for them to go to other places because they get the shit for cheap, right? And the government doesn't force these companies to stay in America and pay American workers the wages, right? Because they're all in their back pocket, right? And so this is it's going to be an endless cycle. It all ties together, bro. It's all about the money. It's all about the money and the control. The reason why police are the way they are is because of corporations. If you really fucking think about it, if you really want to break it down, because that's what all ties back to: money, money and protection of property.
Did y'all know that there's like,
Jonah, you muted.
There are workarounds for for stuff. So like, you can have made in USA claims, but like, and you'll word it like couch assembled in US from Italian leather and Mexican frame.
What?
But
the parts were put together in the US.
Right. So you can say made in US, but it's couches like if you bought a couch that was made in the USA, but it was assembled here, but from Italian leather and from a Mexican frame. So like, it's all, I guess my point is, it's all kind of in your wording, how things go.
I need a candidate that's going to bring like all of these companies back to the country, and all these jobs that go to this place, and I need them all to come back to the US. I think they both have a plan for that. I just want to see whose is better. But that's what I'm on right now. Like, I need to really start focusing on America right now, because we got some fucked up shit going on over here, and I feel like we constantly stretch ourselves so thin around the world because we're trying to maintain our dominance. But the best way to maintain your status is to strengthen your core and allow everything out to go from there. But our core is fucking weak. We are not united. We don't have money. Like, we're all in trouble.
There's this thing that we know that we can get down to the individual. What do a lot of people tell us whenever you try to change things? You can't change anything until you change yourself. You change within, you know? You got to focus within. How are you going to point fingers when you can't fix yourself? And then that's what allows you to focus and do self-reflection, introspection, whatever. And then once you get yourself straight, then you can help others. Yeah. But right now, looking at the United States, we can't do anything for anybody else.
No,
we can't even.
We can't even do anything for
ourselves.
We're in a real fucked up place, and I'm actually kind of grateful for Trump in this aspect, where
because he helped bring this ugliness out.
All this shit to a head, because it's like ripping the Band-Aid off. We had to do this at some point. This shit had to happen.
That's why people argue that it's divine. his appointing.
Yeah, but he getting the fuck out of here in November.
When people can't come to a mutual understanding, though, that's really difficult.
Yeah. What happened, PJ?
Yeah.
So when people can't come to an understanding, it's really difficult. Like part of the whole process, right, is acknowledging a problem, right? So when you have such a divide in that process and acknowledging the problem to begin with, you know, how do you even start to repair anything? Because you have people on both sides of it. People who think that there isn't a problem. People who think that they do. There's people who think that racism isn't a problem in this country, and that it's a media propagated problem. But people, you know, specifically people of color, who are like no, fuck that. This is a systemic issue, right? So what do you do when you have that kind of a divide? And that's just one topic. When you get into all
of existence,
when you get into so many other things like government, like policing, like immigration, you know, all these different things that,
like pedophilia,
right?
Yeah.
You know, it becomes a real problem. And yeah, I agree with John. You know, that over this last presidential term, I think a lot of things
have surfaced.
Yeah, and to me, it's all for the better as well. You know what I mean? At some point, you have to address it. You can't just fucking keep putting perfume on a fucking turd. You know?
Yeah, no, you're right. I think that a lot of the stuff that we've been seeing, the stuff that it was bubbling since even before Obama, but once Obama got into office, you saw that even once he got elected, like they made a puppet out of him and lynched him and burned the puppet and shit like that. So there's this tension between black and white and poor and rich. It's always been there. And now I think with social media, it ripped the Band-Aid off, where there is no more secrets. There is no more hiding this shit. America has to deal with this head on. Let's stop putting all of this money in the military, worrying about what's going on in the Middle East, worried about this, worried about that. We protect our home, right? We protect each other. We take care of each other, and then we can be as strong as ever. But we're so worried about expansionism. This is why there's a new fucking Space Force, right? This is a colonial European idea of expand and conquer, right?
Well, there's nowhere to expand to now, so now that's where the conflict comes up.
Space Force.
I'm saying here. That's why there's so much conflict here.
Space Force.
Because
right.
Like we have this desire to be bigger and better than everybody else in some form or fashion, and not just us. I'm like every fucking nation around, right? And that's always been that's how this country came to be to begin with. Right? It's like, oh, we need to go see what's over there.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's how
that's what exploration is. I wonder what's on the other side.
But at some point, humanity has to come to the conclusion that there is no more expansion. The only thing that you have is this fucking blue ball, and if you don't take,
you don't know that though.
For right now, yes, I do. For right now, all I know is you guys and the rest of the people out there in this earth. That's all I got. And all I got is the other people here to try to make it as safe as for me as I can make it as safe for them. Right? There is no reason to do this anymore. And the only thing we can hope is that we fuck these people out of existence. That we start creating people who don't think in the ways that other generations have thought, because at some point humanity's got to change. We always go through these turning points. There was the Renaissance. It's always something, right? We are going through something now that I truly believe in a few years it'll be better, but we're gonna have to rip the Band-Aid off. You know what I mean? And then
you think there'll ever be a one world order? I'm sorry, this might be a different
okay.
topic.
So
you trying to get on a conspiracy theory shit, man?
Growing up,
we talk about that.
Growing up, I believed in it more because
World order.
I black church, and you know how we are, like, you know, so mark the beast and all of that. Not to say that stuff is fake, but as I got older, I understood how certain bits of information are used to control people. You understand? And once you have that little bit of, I could say something and get enough people to believe it. You've seen it throughout history. That's how the Germans got into World War II and started taking over Europe, right? They believed Hitler. They started believing some bullshit, right? It's not hard to get people to believe in things when their logic matches up with it. Well, that makes sense. People believe that we're on a fucking turtle, right? On the turtle. Indian natives, they believe that we're on a turtleback. Clearly, we're not on a fucking turtleback, but that's what they believe, right? It's easy to do that shit. And once you believe it, I said this to my wife, and I say this to anybody, and I believe in Jesus Christ. I consider myself a Christian. But if most people, right, who follow Christianity, who follow Jesus, were shown empirical evidence without a shadow of a doubt, there is no question that God or Jesus wasn't real, they wouldn't believe it, right? There would be nothing you could tell them. So when we talk about new world orders and we talk about all this other stuff, I'm not saying that it's not in play, and I'm not saying, because there is a lot of evidence and a lot of secret shit that goes on here. I'm just saying I'm going to keep my skepticism, because they'll tell you anything to keep control. The best way to keep control is not through weapons, it's through information, right? Once I get you to believe something, I don't got to control
manipulation
you.
of the masses.
That's it, man. That's how Hitler did it. He was a genius. We don't like to say that, but he was. That's how he got to do what he was able to do. Don't think that our government don't try to do the same thing. That's why when you hear stuff like the Patriot Act and it sounds real scary, and it is real scary on paper what they could do, it's more powerful you to believe. It's more powerful for you as a citizen to believe that I have control and I'm always watching you and I'm always X, Y, and Z than it is for me actually to put the manpower to have that control. You get what I'm saying? And then go through all these efforts. Not saying that it's not possible and that they don't do it, because people get tapped and people get followed and spied on all the time.
But see,
it's more powerful for you to believe that I have more control than I actually do.
I guess part of the reason I asked that is because I believe that the average person doesn't want to have to think. I think that the average person really shies away from critical thinking, right? Mm-hmm. So I look at how these conflicts come up and then disappear, right? On so many different fronts, whether it's on disease or politics, policing, all these different conversations that will have a spike, right, and then fade away, right? I believe it's a conditioning. So as we go through all these events, it's 100% conditioning, in my opinion. As we go through these situations, when a change or a shift in one direction actually takes place, we've already accepted it, right? It's already been dressed up for us to be all nice and pretty. It's got lipstick on it and we like it. We want it. And very similar to, not to talk about this shit, but look at what happened with Corona, right? We were guided and told you have to do this, you have to do that, and it's with the reasoning of public safety. That's right. But if you really look at it, take New York, for example, you were forced to stay in your home. You've been forced to get tested, forced to divulge who you've been with, where you've gone, forced to wear your facial coverings, and everyone did it. Everyone was okay with it.
Forced to do any of those things, though.
100% were.
I was outside.
Right.
I was in stores. There was never a time I couldn't go to us. Like I was fine, bro. And I get what you're saying, but it goes back to what I was saying before. We have a tendency as humans. This is psychology now. It's always, our fear is always worse than the actual outcome of what things are. Yeah. And so we go through scenarios in our mind and we start panicking. That's why we ran out of fucking toilet paper. Humans are irrational assholes. And so when we start saying, well, look, they took away our freedoms, we had to stay in the house, they forced us to stay in the house. Not really. You're kind of doing a human thing right now. Like, no,
they did force people to stay in the house, because once you got tested, you had to quarantine. If you and you were told that if you did not quarantine and you were caught out, that you can go to jail and have to pay a fine. So just because the average person who didn't test that way was still able to go out, those who were, you were given an ultimatum: stay your ass home or go to jail.
Even now, it's still that ultimatum.
And then the general public was like, yeah, motherfucker, stay your ass home. Yeah, were people still going out? Sure. Naturally, you're going to have the outliers, but the majority of people weren't following that. So
I get what. Yes, I would at that time.
And what about the asymptomatic people?
My point is, at the end of it, I would not be surprised if, and I'm not saying within our lifetime or even our kids' lifetime, but at some point in the future, right, as things start to transition, right, and all of a sudden, like, we're conflicting heavy with China now, right? But at some point, things are going to get better. Mm-hmm. Through one action or another, whether it be a war or through peace, things are going to get better.
And then we're going to start traveling the space together as one.
Cosmos. I'm here for it.
At some point, all of a sudden, it's going to be like, you know what? If we all
form a human coalition.
Well, that's why I say it's not conditioned.
One grand maester will arise, right?
Life is
world president.
Life is nothing but a series of moments. Life is nothing but a series of moments, right? That's life. So when you say it's always something else popping up and there's always something, that's how life goes, because we're humans. One thing I'm only going to talk about the 1994 NBA Finals, but so long. You know what I'm saying? Because the next finals is coming the next year. And so I'm only going to talk about the first episode of Game of Thrones, but so much before we have to talk about the second episode of Game of Thrones. So we always going to go through this shit, but every generation goes through something crazy. People during the Great Depression jumped out of the fucking window and killed themselves because they thought their world was over. Right?
Well, I mean, that's a little different.
This is the human condition. When we feel like there is no other way, when we can't foresee something better and we see things going one way, it's very hard for the human mind to come out of that. We always look for the worst in the situation because that's our survival instinct kicking in. But most of the time, like I said, the things that play out in our mind is not really where we all been through it with a girl, and you might think she be doing some funny shit behind your back, and it's probably been done to us. And really, it's some totally explainable shit. But since she ain't answering the phone, you know what I'm saying?
This whole scenario in our mind, bruh, and that's not even real.
So then, heart racing,
that was from a fear of something. That was from, whether it be being cheated on or lied to, or something that had already happened to you in the past or not, and you just created a whole scenario based on.
So is just to bring it around though, is that what's happening with our police then?
No, because there's physical and video evidence of what's actually happening. There is no.
But can we sit here and argue that we're making it worse than it really is?
No, I can. What you're saying and with the one world government and police brutality are two different things.
I don't know. No, it's not. I'm taking your statement of how we like to amplify things and make them worse than they are. But this is one situation that I'm just asking: are we doing that?
No. If you're gonna let me explain to you why, I will explain to you why. Because first of all, you have a history, right? There's a history there. There is scientists love like previous evidence and shit, right? Like that's science because you have to have a fucking big enough. There you go. There's data, right? There's a whole fucking slavery thing. There was a war about it. I don't know if you know. This is whole thing. What you're talking about, a one world government, even though you might find hints.
No. But you're saying that I was talking about something as if that was my main point. Because my main point initially was about how we react to things and how I could see it leading to that.
Well, I guess my point is there's the difference between speculation and fact. I can speculate and say that, yeah, it's looking like a one world government going that way. I don't have empirical evidence. I have empirical evidence of police brutality towards Black people specifically. I have evidence of racism specifically, in this country.
I don't doubt any of that. But what I'm trying to say is, if you're looking at however many police are in this country, right? And compare that to the situations and encounters that may happen, right? Individually, we're reacting because to us it's a lot, but we also don't know the complete fact to certain things, and there may be situations that yes, we are overreacting to, like this. People are talking about. I put it out there before. Defund the police. So you want to take away the 4% of the budget that they have?
Goddamn right. Shit.
All right, so maybe that's people overreacting to certain things. It falls along the same exact lines of what you've been saying.
Listen, if the cops can't do their job successfully, why should they get all of this money to do their job? Like you don't solve even 90% of your cases, nigga. That argument don't make any kind of sense to me, because that's like saying, well, if a teacher can't get their kids to pass, then you need to defund education. That don't make no kind of sense. No,
that aspect doesn't make any kind of sense.
No, but you don't keep saying, if the teachers was out here bodying kids and shit like that, it's a whole different fucking story.
So then you would get rid of the teacher. You wouldn't defund the system.
Bruh, if the system but the system is broken. The system is based off of money. When you can arrest me,
education. Education.
It's then
should we start defunding education?
No, but it's already underfunded. A lot of police departments outfund and again around the areas and shit like that, in local governments, a lot of police departments get a lot of funding, and kids are getting their music programs cut and sports programs cut. That shit don't make no sense, right? And so teachers get it worse than cops. And I'm not saying you don't have to pay cops less. What I'm saying is you don't have to give them all of this access to shit.
On average, elementary and secondary education gets 20% of local budgets.
It's not enough.
So, I'm not saying that. 22% goes to public welfare. 21% goes to elementary and secondary education. 10 goes to higher education, right? So you're already talking about 53% that is focused on either public welfare or education.
Okay.
Right? Like I said, police and corrections get 7% of that budget.
What I'm asking you is, why do they have as much funding as they have for the job that they do? Like, it doesn't, again, because you can go on the pensions, you can go on all of that. If even, let's say 0.1 of the budget is to weapons and shit, but that budget is going to fucking shit that they don't need. That's only gonna cause more problems and do more harm than good.
That's not defunding. Then that's reallocating. That's not defunding.
But that's pretty much what defunding is, because once you start,
it's not. Defunding is pulling money away from them and giving it to a different program.
What I'm
That's the
saying is once you
defunding.
defund them, it's going to reallocate money to other places. Like that's pretty much.
Yo, wait, why don't here's the thing. I read
Right,
an
but I'm talking
article-
about within the police. Reallocate within the police. Don't take their money away. Have them reallocated within that
But
system.
reallocate it to what?
why
You could
not do
reallocate it to
Hold on.
education,
Why
to
keep the-
training,
why
to
keep the-
all
Hold
of
on,
that.
hold on a second.
All
What
if
you
it-
gotta say, Kabir?
why don't because I read an article too that said that instead of defunding, why don't we have each officer have like a liability insurance? So now when they do stupid shit like beating up black people or beating up people in general, now it comes out of their pocket. Like they have
Because
to confront the cost.
they still have legal immunity. It qualified immunity. You can't
Yeah,
sue
but if you gotta come out of your own pocket, you're gonna think twice about doing shit.
Nah,
I get it, but again, they don't have to do that because they're backed by unions and they have qualified immunity. So there's no reason for them to have to do any of that shit. Right? Why do I have to get insurance when I'm going to get off anyway? Like I don't have to be insured. Like that's once you get rid of those qualified immunity rules and stuff like that and actually allow the cops to be charged like regular people, then you can give them liability insurance. Then when they know that the blue can't protect them from shit like that, that's when you can hold them accountable. That's when you can tell them to put insurance on their shit. And if not, just like nurses, right? Rebecca has to get malpractice insurance for her job.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, but
it's,
they start getting these insurances. It's like saying that they have an out. I don't know.
I mean, at least at least I can be compensated. At least something can happen. If you do something wrong and you're going to get off on it anyway, right? Something, it has to be some kind of recourse. Qualified immunity is the dumbest shit ever, right? Civil asset forfeiture, which Phil told us about, dumbest shit ever. Why are these rules allowed for these regulars? Because they're just citizens. They're not military. They're citizens. They're civil servants. They're the post office.
Mm-hmm. No,
Why?
I'm just saying that there needs to be a real understanding to it. Like there's so much conversation to be had.
Mm-hmm.
Like it and there's really a lack of understanding to it. Because like I said, I had no idea how the 4% allocation. Like you hear $6 billion, for example, right? In New York City, with how much money these police get, and your fucking eyes go bug-eyed, right? Like, holy shit, that's a lot of money. But then when you look at how much money their whole budget actually is, the perspective changes, I guess.
It doesn't though, because what does operating costs mean? Right? It means the things that you need to operate the police department.
I can tell you after the pod exactly what that is because they give a list of that too.
Okay.
But
I would like to hear that.
I'll let you know. But you, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna have to let you go. I'm Frank, aka PJ, here with John, Jonah, and Ray. You've been listening to the Alpha 5 podcast. Remember to catch us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We all over the damn place. You really can't miss us.
We in constellations now, so check us out in the sky because we're up there too.
Right. Just look for the logo.
Good episodes.
We're gonna start setting up our own satellites with that fucking space program too.
Smoke signals. We everywhere, bro.
Ray, you stay safe out there in Puerto Rico since they cut down tourism with these coronavirus spikes and shit like that.
Thanks,
Fellas,
bro.
y'all stay safe. It's great to
Well,
see y'all.
For shizzle.
We out of here. Peace.
Peace.